Want to know if you're marathon ready? We've got 3 tips to make sure that you're getting ready for that race. Interviewing coach, CrossFitter, runner, Kenny Santucci. What's up, guys? Nate here. I am at Reebok HQ with Kenny Santucci, a good friend of mine, a CrossFit gym owner, friggin' social media superstar. Check him out. He's on it. He's everywhere. And what's really cool, too, is that Kenny is also a runner, and so we get to geek out and talk a little about running. And Kenny, you were telling me that you got some cool running events this year.
Yeah, I got 2 great races coming up. 2 years ago, I ran New York City Triathlon for the first time. Was probably one of the best races I've ever run. It's just so amazing. Like, the city just comes out. It's incredible support. And on top,
The New York City Triathlon?
New York City Triathlon. It was great. It was a beautiful day. I'm hoping it's just going to be as nice. Swimming in the Hudson isn't as great as, we'd all hope it would be. But, you just do it, you get it over with, and you go on for the race.
Get vaccinated. Before you go in the water, just make sure you hit all your Hep A, whatever.
Oh, absolutely. And you get this, you get this filament on your skin that, needs to be hosed off right away. And yes, for the first time, it's been a dream of mine for about 6 years now to run the New York City Marathon.
Amazing. That's just one of the most epic marathons out there.
Exactly. It's the marathon of marathons, and it's great because I'm doing it for a great cause. I'm not just running it for the simple joy of running. I'm running for an organization, so it's going to be cool. We're going to do a whole press release in the next couple of weeks on that, so keep your eyes open for it.
That's exciting. So I wanted to bring Kenny in here because Kenny is also a strength and conditioning coach. He knows a lot about how to move his body. We were just in this focus group with some, Reebok bigwigs, just talking a lot about, how we see the world in fitness as trainers and as coaches. And I just wanted to pick Kenny's brain a little bit because I think he had some good things to say about how do you know if you're marathon ready. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video is just marathon readiness. Mm-hmm. And, we were just talking earlier before we started shooting, and we were kind of saying how, injuries can occur almost any time, right? Yeah. There's always an opportunity. And so, what are some of the things?
You could be 100% prepared for any race you're going to run. Injury will happen. Things will break down. And I think the most important thing, and I tell people this all the time, is you have to be mentally prepared before you, you could sign the waiver, you could start training, but if you're not willing to live an anti-fragile existence where it's knowing those things are going to happen, knowing there's going to be problems, and just working through them, when I was younger, I used to wrestle, and I had hurt my neck, and they told me I can never wrestle again. And it's if you're one of those people who's willing to accept no for an answer, and you're not passionate about it, and you really don't want to do it, then you're going to start to self-doubt. And the hardest race you're going to run is from ear to ear. It's not going to be the one, with your feet hitting the pavement.
I like that, ear to ear, right in the middle.
Yeah. So if you really want to do it, you have to be ready upstairs first. And then it's a matter of training and getting ready for it. But yeah, things break down, things start to hurt. You just need to know how to handle those things.
Yeah. So we're always looking for the super tangible stuff because we know that's what you guys love. What are some things that you do? Do you have any common problems with your running? Things that just kind of bother you a little bit, and and how do you treat that? For example, for me, I know that if I run a little bit, my calf or Achilles will start to bother me, and I have to really be on with a little bit of calf rolling, and if I get behind the 8 ball, it talks to me a little bit.
Well, I come from that. I ran before I started doing CrossFit. I've been racing pretty much my whole life. But I come from that CrossFit mentality. It's train smarter, not harder. I like to shorten my distance but increase my intensity, which gets me more prepared for races. Before I did my last try, the run was only 8 miles. So I was putting 4 or 5 miles pretty hard. Could I do the 8? Yeah, absolutely. But I want to see how intense I could get with that shorter distance. And do things break down? Absolutely. I know there's times where I really need to roll out my IT band. My IT band gets pretty tight. Plus, I think strength and conditioning training helps a lot. The stronger my legs are, you think, okay, those fast twitch muscle fibers don't convert over as easy. But my IT band gets pretty tight, but I just need to stay as loose and limber for not only strength and conditioning, but also for running. I think a lot of runners are the more I run, the better I'll get. But it's you got to maintain your tools. It's your legs are your toolbox. And if
I like
you're,
that. Maintain your tools.
Yeah, so if you're not taking care of those tools, your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, they're going to start to break down.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that kind of segues into our next question, which is on movement. And speaking of movement, we gotta give you a little tour of the HQ here. So let's go for a little for a little walk and talk here as we're going. So, you have a movement practice, right? You run, but running isn't the only thing you do. Like, what are some of the other things that you like to do that you think is really going to be crucial for your marathon preparation this year?
I think obviously stressing the body. You need to put your body into a place where it's never been before, because that's where it's going to go if you're going to run a race. I think having a structurally sound lower half for a race. A lot of people are like, well, I'm running, but it's like there might be those little tweaks, those little parts of your body that aren't always up to snuff, basically. Growing up, it's like one side might be tighter than the other side. And during a 26-mile race, those things are going to break down. You're going to start to rely on one side more than the other, and that's when you're going to start to have injury. So balance is 100% important. Prepping your body and strengthening your structure. Think of your legs like a building. Like if the foundation of this building's kind of weak, eventually over time it's going to give out.
Yeah.
And think of your body the same way. You want everything to be as structurally sound as possible. So
that's cool. Do you have any favorite exercises, like just like one or two that like when you started you're like, man, this just feels really good and it feels like it connects with my running in some way?
I think for me, one of the best workouts I like to use, not only in strength and conditioning but also in training for races, is overhead walking lunges.
Oh, those are great.
So those are great because
They're
it gets
terrible, but...
yeah. They're brutal, but at the same time, it's getting my core ready for that. And we all talk about core, but if I tighten my midline and I stop that rotation, it's going to make me more efficient in my running. It's also going to help me strengthen my legs as well. I'm going to start to pull from my hamstrings a little bit better. I'm going to start to pull from my glutes a little bit better, and that's where we want to run from. A lot of people, become quad dominant with a lot of workouts, and I think overhead lunges starts to help you drive from that posterior chain line.
I've seen this guy in action. We just huffed it out for a mile yesterday morning.
That was we didn't huff it out. I was about 200, 400 meters behind you most of the time, but it was good. I mean, you were first. I was like right behind you, but it was cool to run with you because, I mean, most times I'm one of the better runners in the group, and then to get smashed by about 3 minutes by you was humbling to say the least.
We had a good time. We had a good time.
It was a good workout.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, last thing, we were talking about run technique, and I like how you brought in this idea of like resisting rotation. We talked about that yesterday after a run and how important it is for the upper body to be loose. And there's like that sense of flow with running, that kind of intangible sense that we always go for. We know when we don't have to be a runner, but we can see someone who runs like, oh, that just looks so good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, especially when I started to get into the triathlon world more, you could really appreciate, anybody could really appreciate someone who just like gracefully runs or swims. And I try to do that with my running. I want it to look effortless. Anybody who's really good at something makes it look so easy that other people want to do it.
Yeah.
But you could tell the difference between a good runner and a bad runner. It's like, people are stomping their feet and they're moving their hips and their arms are moving too much, and you're just like, you need to tighten that whole thing up a little bit. So when I see someone run like you, where it's just like,
shucks.
no, it's you make it look effortless, and it's like I try to think about like technique when I'm doing those shorter runs, just like we were talking about before. If I'm gonna plan on doing a marathon, I want to start with my form first. I think everybody thinks like, I could go out there and just start running, but it's like, no, you need to think about technique. You need to think about form. Just as well as I do, everybody likes to shit on CrossFit and say, oh, it's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. Like everybody thinks like, I could go outside and start running. It's like, it's not that simple. If you're looking to run for long distances, you need to be, like I said, structurally sound.
Yeah.
You need to make sure all your ducks are in a row, and your legs are strong, your hips are strong, your knees are strong, your ankles, your feet. At any point, those things could give out, and those injuries are going to last a whole lot longer than things that could happen in a gym.
So it really sounds like, and this was kind of that last thing I wanted to get to, which was, running technique. Like, how do you know from a running technique standpoint you're ready to start the marathon? Because we're kind of joking. It's like hard to change your elbow swing in the middle of a 16-mile run. And I've been there. You're going to be there again soon.
Yeah.
You're just so tired, and just you're using all that mental energy, the battle between the ears, just to get outside and hit that next tempo work. It's almost hard to fully be in the driver's seat. So it sounds like for you, your big focus is getting all that work taken care of before you even start your marathon process.
Exactly. I think when you pick a goal, I mean, I tell people all the time, it's like the first thing I tell anybody, it should be fun. Okay, it's an extracurricular activity. It's our lives, so it should be fun. Enjoy it. B, pick a goal. Set out a goal, a practical goal. Don't say oh, well, I'm going to race the guy from Kenya and try to beat him. It's probably not going to happen. He's here for a reason. So pick a practical goal. Think about where you want to be. Think about your age. Your age. Do some research. Think about okay, well, I'm 45 years old and I've never ran a race before and I've never really trained before the last 6 months. So pick a practical goal. Pick a pace that you think you could do well at, and I think start from that point. So you start from the end goal and then work your way backwards and scale your training as it goes on. But I mean, I would definitely, strength and conditioning is so important. I think a lot of runners, I get told all the time, I'm constantly trying to convince runners to become gym rats in a way.
More than just
more
runners.
More than just a runner, yeah.
Show them that there's a bigger world, a bigger fitness world beyond just the running thing.
And then it keeps it fun. It keeps it interesting. I mean, it's a beautiful day out. I feel like going outside right now. I'm going for a jog.
How cool is it? Reebok HQ has a track that goes around their building. We may knock some 400s out after this.
I mean, the building, it looks like the X-Men or the Avengers should live here or something. It's such a cool
It is kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's all this top secret shit. We can't even show you everything. We had to stop our tour because we're not even allowed.
We saw some stuff today that's not coming out till 2025.
Get ready. Amazing. Well, Kenny, thank you so much for being on here, dude. This was awesome. How can we find you?
At Kenny Santucci, very easy to find, and I have a website. There's not really much up there yet, but kennysantucci.net, and I have a YouTube channel, which is just more me hosting and using my big mouth, because I'm better at that than I am at running. So.
We love it. Well, guys, thanks again so much. Nate Helming here for the Run Experience. Catch you next video. We're out.